Hello, everyone, and this is the 20 days to go 2020 election prediction. So, 20 days to go, 2020. And believe me, this election is coming sooner rather than later. I mean, it is really approaching us at rapid speed. We are officially 20 days and 31 minutes out from the election. So, I'm really trying to do this with 20 days to go, and we're pretty much there. It honestly feels like yesterday when I did the 10-day prediction 10 days ago for the 30 days to go. But let's get started with 20 days to go. I'm really excited. So let's start with safe Democrat states. California, Hawaii, Washington can be a safe state, along with New York, Vermont, typical safe states. Maryland, DC, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island are all safe states. Could argue Rhode Island's likely, but no need to do all of that. Now, safe Republican states. Usual. Not really going to spend much time on the safe Republican states, but I'll consider Alaska a safe state. Mississippi is a safe one. I know some people think that that's going to be closer. Don't worry, it'll be safe for Republicans. So that's 131 to 92. Likely Democrat states are Illinois and Delaware are all likely Democrat states in Maine's first congressional district. Joe Biden will win all of those by a lean margin. And you know what? I'll stay away from that. So now likely Republican states are Montana, Missouri, Indiana, and South Carolina. Actually, not, I'll leave South Carolina out. I was thinking about it, but I'll leave it out. So 155 to 116, and here we get into the meat of everything. So now New Jersey, Connecticut, and Oregon are all safe, lean Democrat states. They are trending to the red, right, whatever you want to call it. Still Joe Biden columns. There really hasn't been any polls out of those states. Not much information that could be concluded. It's basically based on trends, especially with all the safe and likely states. It's really hard to determine stuff because there's so little polls. Let's see, because there's going to be more lean states, but I'll come back. I'll just also include South Carolina as a lean Republican, and I'm going to include Texas as a lean Republican, along with Iowa and Ohio and Georgia. You know what? I'll go with South Carolina as likely, just to make that look better. All four of these states, I did say 20 days ago, Texas is going to start spreading out. Trump's going to get a more prominent lead, and he's starting to do that. He's up by about 5 points now with RCP, and the same thing's going to happen with Iowa, Ohio, and Georgia, probably this week or next week. And it's going to be pretty obvious that Trump will win these states come election day. So all lean Republican states, along with Maine's second congressional district. I always forget that one. So now lean Democrat states. We'll continue with Virginia, New Mexico, Colorado, and Minnesota and New Hampshire are all lean Democrat states. That's 224 at the moment to 204. So Colorado, New Mexico, and Virginia are obviously states that are all trending to the left. The reason why New Mexico and Colorado aren't what you'd say likely Democrat states is because Gary Johnson ran last election, and he did probably get a lot of he got 9% of the vote in New Mexico, and Trump lost the vote by around 9%. So that could have been a lot of Republicans just turned off by Trump voting for Johnson because they knew him being the former governor, and Trump could make the state closer, and he took away votes in Colorado as well. So in Minnesota, lean. I know the polls have it like him up 7-8 points right now. I do think the actual margin is probably 4 or 5 points. I do think it's being overestimated in those states. First, based off of the previous election prediction models from RCP and pollsters, he could be up 4 or 5 points. Come election day, I think Biden will win by 2 or 3, 1, 2, 3 points. So, lean category for Biden. And New Hampshire and Virginia, pretty obvious lean states. So there's a lot of tilt states. That's 110 electoral votes of tilt, which is pretty crazy. It does show you how divided the country is, that there's so many states that are up for toss-ups, and how close the election's going to be, because it's going to be a close election. I know people are saying Biden's going to win by a landslide, Trump's going to win, but it's going to be a close election. I don't have a doubt about it. If Trump wins, he'll win by a little, and if Biden wins, he'll still win by a little. I don't see if Biden wins, he's going to pick up Texas, Georgia, Ohio, I don't think he's going to do that. So that's why I don't think he's going to win in a landslide. I really don't see many scenarios with that happening. Same with Trump, because it obviously is harder for Trump to win in a landslide. Okay, so for tilt, also, main at largest lead. But let's keep going. Tilt Democrat states. I'll start with the tilt Republican states because that's easier. North Carolina is a tilt Republican state. Trump will probably win that 1 to 2 points. I know he won by 3.7 2016. The margin will decrease a little bit, I think, right now, unless the polls start changing. I do think right now he's up, or it's probably a dead heat. Maybe he's up by 1 point in North Carolina when you consider the margin of error with the polls. Anyway, till Democrat states, and North Carolina obviously does have a higher proportion of Republicans and Democrats, registered voters. When you look at the registered voters in North Carolina, they have a higher proportion of Republicans and Democrats. Same with Florida and Georgia and South Carolina and Iowa, Ohio, and Texas, which is why I just look at that like that. So Arizona, obviously tilt blue. Nevada, I'm going to go with tilt blue. Now, I did have Trump winning this last election. I'm pretty sure I did at least. Whatever you want to call it, 10 days ago. But I do, especially when you look in the previous elections, the Republican is actually overestimated in these states of here in Nevada, Arizona, New Mexico, and Colorado, which is why I do think that Biden is actually probably up pretty comfortably, maybe 4 or 5 points in Nevada. But I do think that's right now. But in the end, I think Biden will win by 1 or 2 points. It'll narrow up, but I see it still going to Joe Biden, tilt Joe Biden. So now with Trump, I see him winning Nebraska second and Florida. That's getting him 249 electoral votes. Florida, I know he is, you're going to say, oh, he's down with the elderly population. He's down with the elderly population. I think he's going to turn that around. He's campaigning in Florida a lot right now, at least recently. I think also his recent dischargement from the hospital is like, I don't know what you call it. It's just showing like, I guess, a form of strength. And he did need to show that because the admission to the hospital after he was diagnosed with coronavirus definitely didn't help him in the polls, and it did not help him with people even considering enthusiasm or shifting their vote for him. So now it is down to the Rust Belt. So we're going to take a look. So I am going to say Trump will tilt Michigan. And honestly, that's partially because of John James's help. John James is helping increase African American turnout, especially in cities like Detroit, Flint. And I think Trump could tilt that state. He's made the Senate race very close with Gary Peters. I think Biden may be up 3 or 4 points in Michigan at the moment. Trump's going to get that really close. He'll end up winning by less than 1%, 0.5, 0.4, but he'll take Michigan. And I honestly feel like that's going to happen. And I see that happening with the rest of the Rust Belt. He has, in polling data at least, gained support with African Americans. He has gained support with the industrial workers and manufacturers and coal miners and natural gas miners. And when you boil all that down, especially when you look at recent interviews, I saw one with Vice, Democratic mayor in one of these cities. I forgot where it was. In Wisconsin, he was a Democrat mayor, Democrat unions, workers' unions. He came out and endorsed Trump. And about 10 other Democrat mayors came out and endorsed Trump. All of these mayors, coal country, manufacturing country, and I do think that's going to help drive up turnout for Trump and drive out support for Trump. And I honestly see him winning this, and he could even change Minnesota. And it's going to seem weird because Republicans haven't won Minnesota since Nixon in, what was it, like 78, not 74 or something. And I wouldn't be surprised if you could say Minnesota was tilt blue or even tilt Republican. But final electoral tally, it's changed a bit from the last 10 days. 295 to 243. Trump has improved his rankings. The vice presidential debate, I honestly don't think that changed much people's minds. I mean, it's the vice presidential debate. But if you're going to ask for my opinion, I think Mike Pence did outperform Kamala Harris. And I'm not even being biased there. There was a poll conducted. I'm pretty sure 60% of the viewers said that they thought that Mike Pence outperformed Kamala Harris. And I know the CNN poll said otherwise, but there was, if you look at the spread of polls, there were more polls, a lot more polls actually, that had Pence the victor of the race. Now, I know you can argue either way, but my final electoral tally, 20 days to go, 295, 243. Trump is the winner. I just, and it's, there's a lot of skepticism, at least with my side, because in 2016, the polls, I mean, if you did the RCP no toss ups, all of this, the Rust Belt was blue, New Hampshire was red, I'm pretty sure Nevada was red, and it was just way off. It was way off. I mean, the polls were wrong. They were off. The election did not look anything like that with the RCP no toss ups, and with the Senate races. Maybe the RCP no toss up was closer, but the spreads of the Senate races and the RCP toss up wasn't even that close. So for me, it's a lot of skepticism with the polls. It's really hard to judge it right now. I mean, it's really hard to judge the polls right now, especially since no one's campaigning. Honestly, we don't know what's happening with these debates that are going to go on. Are there going to be any more October surprises, especially from the Trump side? Because it doesn't, I mean, Joe Biden has really pulled out all the stops against Trump. When you look at the Atlantic story, when you look at his tax returns, you can make a whole list of things that have happened, and it really doesn't seem like anything from the Republican side has really taken place or set the narrative, especially in America or in the American people's minds. So 295, 243, I still have Trump winning the election, partially because he is an incumbent. I am skeptical about the polls. There is a large enthusiasm gap with Donald Trump and Joe Biden. A lot of Joe Biden supporters are going to be doing mail-in voting, partially because he favors mail-in voting and he supports it, and that is going to decrease turnout. That's already been shown by early voting statistics. So the turnout gap is going to be extraordinary, which is why I think Trump is probably going to outperform the polls by a lot this time, because the polls just ask people who they're voting for. But when you think about turnout on election day, that's going to change things. And I'm not even sure about the polls right now. It's a bunch of skepticism. This far out from the election. Anyway, it's 295, 243. Trump is a victory. He does lose electoral votes. Usually Republicans gain some in their incumbent re-election. Trump loses 11, but he remains president for another 4 years till January of 2025. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Please stay tuned as we count down to November 3rd, Election Day. We're going to have an entirely new Senate, new House, bunch of new governors. And it's exciting, as much as it is nerve-wracking for a bunch of people and, nail-biting, anxiety. There's elections every 2 years. So you lose this one, you win the next one. But, in the end, you just got to realize you lose one, you win the next one, life's going to go on, and you're going to be fine. And I'm not even I can't even vote, but I don't try it. I've been paying attention to politics probably since 2016 race, because that's really what got me involved. Probably. I wasn't really, maybe a little bit in 2012, but 2016 really interested me. Been paying in 2018, 2020. And, you got to remember that there's elections every 2 years, and you don't win the 2020 election, this 2022, and then you don't win 2022, this 2024. And you're going to be happy sometimes and you're not going to be happy sometimes, but you're going to be fine. In the end, you're going to be fine. That's just the truth, because you worry too much about this, you'll go crazy. But this is my prediction, 295, 243. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please subscribe to my YouTube account. I really appreciate it. I love making election prediction videos, and I've been doing a lot of presidential election predictions, partially because that is the main topic. I'm probably going to do some Senate. I don't think I'm going to do a House. Maybe I'll do another governor, but these videos do seem to get the most popularity, and I obviously want to, make predictions that you guys want to see. So this is my prediction. Thank you for watching. Subscribe. Have a nice day, and stay tuned for the next video.